Right, that's got the film inside the developing tank, so it can safely now come out. One thing you want to remember is whatever you took in the bag, make sure that you take it out, because if it's stuck inside there, it's going to cause problems. And I mean little things like the top spare bit of film, the top of the canister, it will cause you problems. So just make sure, have a recount, get your scissors out, get everything out. Okay, so I've mixed the 1-to-1 ratio. So I've used 5 ounces of developer and 5 ounces I've gone Imperial of water. Right. From what I can see, looking on the computer, the development time for this is 11 minutes. So we'll now start the clock. When you first put your developer in, there might be some air bubbles there. So gently just tap to make sure there's no air bubbles. There's nothing worse than little bubbles all over your negative. So basically for the first 30 seconds, be quite vigorous in settling it in. Now you can either invert, which basically means turn it upside down, or you can just agitate it by spinning it around. This is to stop the developer dropping, so it have a gradient, you know, it'd be heavily on one side and almost light on the top. So you need to keep your developer in suspension. That's a good word. We won't watch it for the full 11 minutes. We'll come back when it's near enough time to wash it out. I've already mixed my fixer, which is 1-to-4. That should last for quite some time actually. I just keep topping it up, the fixer. I mixed this fixer up quite some time ago, and I'm just noticing it. I don't know whether you can see it, but it seems some sort of crystallization in the fixer, so that's a telltale sign I need to clean my fixer up. In other words, throw that away and mix a fresh lot up. I don't think for our purposes I'm going to worry too much, because I'm just doing a film that's going to be non-critical. I'm just checking over from one camera to another, but I would be a bit worried if this was something that I'd got to do and wanted to get some nice end prints from by having a look at that. That's not right. So you can see that when I've taken the top off now, that is really milky. I think it's still effective. I hope it's still effective, and we've got some negatives out of it. The negatives, the film itself doesn't seem milky in any way, so I think we're okay. We've got away with it this time, but it's something you must watch out for. I don't know if it's contamination or it's just crystallization of the old fixer, but I need to tip that away and start again. The taps in home haven't got this sort of connection, so I've had to come outside. What I'm amazed is that Jobo went to make sure you've got the pressure right. I went to the extent of creating this. You first set the pressure by putting your finger on this little valve here, stops the air rushing in, and then turn the tap on, and until you get the marker going in between them, somewhere around about there, that's the right pressure. I can take my finger off there now and leave that for about 5 minutes to wash. So we've got the film finished. I've rinsed it, left it for 5 minutes. Now I need to put it in my film drying cabinet. It's an old Durst UT100. The thing is, the plastic casing around it went years ago, but I did a remodeling and I've made a little cupboard for it now. I've just been looking on the internet and I didn't realise these seem to have disappeared. I was working at Jessop's at the time when I got this one. I was working in the dark rooms. Unfortunately, it was like living in a sweet shop. I had to buy everything I was using when I realised how good it was. I took the fan out so we can have a deeper look at that. The box, I designed it on a sort of works locker, but I've got a vent at the bottom. I'll show you that in a minute. It's just ordinary straightforward timber. It's about, I think it's half-inch square timber I made it out of, and then I put a perspex door on it so I could see the film when it was curling. When it was dry, I'd get an inclination to that anyway. I put 3 hinges down the side of it. The reason being is it's quite weighty actually for the door, I think, with the perspex and everything on it, but it works quite well. I did coat the inside with I think it was just ordinary PVA glue, thin down, just so that it'd keep the dust to a minimum. As you can see, I used magnetic catches to shut it because it is quite a bit of a weight, and then a little handle to pull it on. When it's shut, I can see the film when it's drying. I've got a little vent here cut out at the bottom, so remember my hot air is being pushed down from the top and then it seeps out through the bottom. So basically the cabinet's fairly straightforward. It's the business end, the fan. Let's have a look at that. When I went to rebuild my drying cabinet, thinking that, you know, the plastic was the only thing that had gone wrong, the unit itself seemed to have burnt out. It seemed to be the motor. Had a look round, went on the internet, tried to get something similar, couldn't find anything that would fit the bill. But as look what happened, a few years ago, probably about 5 years ago before that, I bought a small room heater and it was breaking up. Looked inside that and I thought, that motor looks very similar. So checked it out. I couldn't believe it. It was exact the same. The fan, the actual motor size, even down to the holes where you fit it on the unit, they had the same supplier. That's the only thing I can think of. Right, so this is the master unit. So you put it on and you can have control of the temperature. You put it on half power, put it on full power. It's quite simple, it's quite straightforward. Let's have a look at what, I'm not going to take it apart again, but this is where I changed the actual motor. This is the motor that was in there before, aluminium, and you can see that just about making out that white blades in there. That was from the heater that I got from a car boot that luckily fitted this. It's amazing. While I was at it, I incorporated a small bulb inside. So this is what I made up, just a bit of wire, bit of brass tube in there. That's where I hang the films from. I can't remember what it was in the actual unit itself. I think it was a hoop that came down very similar to this, but that's where I hang my films from. So this is where the master unit sits. It's like a little basket, so it doesn't rock or move from there. It's pretty stable. So there it is in situ. So I've got the light on all the time. So there it is. I can try probably 4 or 5 films in there. Easy. And probably drying 6 to 8 minutes. What I did like about the Durst system is you can see the grey there on the hanger is what should go on the top, and then they did a counterweight size, and that's it. It's black and it's quite weighty, so that's pulling my film down at that end, and you grip it in between them teeth and that holds the film quite securely. But with the revamp, I'm quite pleased with it. It works well. Right, we've completed the test, but I end up with sheets and sheets of negatives. I really ought to get myself organised. So I've devised a little bit of a test sheet so I can put it down. The light compartment, did it work? Yes, no. Quality of the photo, we've digitized the negatives and have a look. Evaluation performance, in other words, the viewfinder, was it easy to look for it? How clarity wise was it good? Marks out of 10. Light meter info, speeds and shutters inside, and the lens itself, just was it clunky, did it run smooth? Just simplistic things. I can look at those cameras in detail later on, but that's just something that I can tell at a glance. Was it successful or not?